Good evening, everybody, and thank you for being here. I want to thank everybody here who is here at Milwaukie Floral. We're going to have a great time tonight. So we're going to hear some poems from Linda Apple and Hank Adira, Adira's book, Moon Marking, which is going to be great. I'm going to introduce them in just a few minutes. I'm Tom Hogan. I'm the coordinator of the Milwaukee Poetry Series. What we're doing tonight is that we're having our July First Friday celebration. We have a First Friday through the summer, May through October. And you might notice it's on the second Friday of the month rather than the first Friday. But that's because the first Friday was on the 4th of July. So we moved it back a month. And are very, very glad that we did that. I have some things that I'd like to make. That thanks in addition to you for coming out tonight. Because there's so many things that impact on our time and so many demands. And it's really important to come out and share poetry and making that choice to do that. So thank you for doing that. And I want to welcome anyone who is on, who is logged in, to the Zoom. Thank you very much for doing that. The same goes for you. Thank you for making the choice to spend some time with us and time for poetry. I want to say a couple things about some events for the Milwaukie Poetry Series. The reading that we had on Wednesday night on Colburn was the end of our season. So we will be starting we take August off as far as those readings go. Take August off, and we're going to come back to the reading in September, which is, I believe, the 8th. And I was getting ready to talk about this a little bit, and I thought, this was actually the first time I said the word September. And I thought, yes, that's in a couple of months, that we're going to be doing that. We do have the first Friday, so we will be here on August 1st, which is the first Friday in August. And then we have a special reading. We have a special reading that's just developed, and it is next Wednesday, the 16th of July. And it's a Persian translation. His name is Ali Akademi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Those of you who may remember, he was here 9 years ago. And he's a translator. He was translating Thoreau from English into Farsi. And his book, his translation of Thoreau from Walden has just come out. So, he's going to be here again. It's quite a feat for him to get the permission to travel to Iran. But he did make it here, and he did make it for customers. So he's going to be here for a reception, a welcome. And there's going to be he's going to read some of his work, because he's gone on and translated some more of Thoreau, and he's also translated some of the Wednesday night, a little bit later, 7:30, the library's very gracious to us. That's work for his schedule, and our schedule is to do it at 7:30. 7:30 to 8:30. There will be refreshments. I hope as many as you can come on and support it. We're going to have a couple of great readers tonight. And in addition to some other work that they have, they're going to be reading from a book they have collaborated on. And with their indulgence, I'm going to share some introductions to both of them. I think what I'm going to do is introduce both of you, and then just let you handle the reading, just how you want to alternate or so forth.
Real quick.
Yeah.
You need to be about this close to the microphone.
All right.
For it to work.
Yeah. Way down, if I could just.
There you go, like right there.
All right.
You have to be pretty close to the mic.
Way close to the mic. All right. I'm just thinking of a story. We went on a disaster mission to New Orleans back after Katrina. And I remember walking out in the French Quarter, and we were walking down the street, and the band was playing. Were they playing jazz? Being as in New Orleans? No, they were playing Bob Dylan's like a Rolling Stone. The song we just heard. So we just heard that song, and that's a memory that flashed for me. And they did a good job with it. Linda and I have been in a poetry class together, a poetry group together, the third Monday authors group for years. Yeah. So I've had a chance to hear a lot of her work over the years. She is an adopted Oregonian, although she has lived all around the United States. After studying in New York and Ashland, Wisconsin, she received a master's degree in library science from the University of California at Berkeley. She worked for many years in scientific and industrial libraries before retiring to concentrate on writing poetry. Her work has appeared in various publications, including Milwaukie Journal, Voice Catcher, and Chrysalis, Emerging Women Writers. She has also published 2 chapbooks, Latitudes of the Heart and Exclaiming to the Sky. Mother of 2 and a grandmother, she has lived beside the Willamette River for more than 40 years. Linda Knowlton Apple. And also reading is her cousin, Peg Edera. Thank you. Of Portland, Maine. A native of Portland, Maine, has lived in a grove of trees in Portland, Oregon for 40 years. She is the author of a poetry book, Love is Deeper Than Distance, and a chapbook, How We Name Thee, Poems of the Motherland. Her poems have also been included in various anthologies, including The Wonder of Small Things, Poems of Peace and Renewal. She writes in community most mornings of the week, with gratitude for all the influence and inspiration received from writing companions and her daughter Mia. Maybe she'll tell us a little bit about that. Would you join me in welcoming our featured readers tonight, Linda Knowlton Apple and Peg Edera.
This Linda, is this right? Let's see. How's that? Can you hear us? Right up. Okay. All right. Right up there? Yeah. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Milwaukie Floral, for this beautiful space. Thank you for this beautiful night and our musical accompaniment. And thank you all for being here. I'm Peg Edera. And I'm Linda Apple. Cousins.
We wound up in Portland, Oregon, rather by chance. We just drifted west across the country, and this is where we landed.
During COVID, Linda and I began writing together via Zoom, and at some point, I suggested we had enough material to do a chapter for the family. And the idea eventually grew into this book. And at this point, we don't even remember which poems came out of our writing together, and which were written earlier or independently. But we did know lots of shared themes. And we're going to begin with a poem titled Inheritance in 3 parts. Linda's going to read the first 2 sections, and I'll read the first.
Okay. Inheritance. 1. The gifts. The gifts we leave. The problem, the goblets, the locket, the love letter, Grandma's silver teapot, whole potions of eternity, encased in each passing down, is no less than love everlasting. Cures for loneliness, salves for ancient bruising, spells for mending broken hearts, and the wisdom that evaded us in life. 2, the warning. The gifts we leave that twinkled in our youth do not hold time so dearly as our youth reflected glow. Do not give lightly. Do not give thinking they'll sort it out.
3, what's left? Sometimes our fortune turned so jaggedly, we end our time with as little as we began. Then the leavings make of us archaeologists, uncovering the arched eyebrow, our eyes refusing to think, the too loud laugh that echoes in the kitchen, the nasty flare of temper when a plate breaks in the sink, the tapestry of linens folded by size and color, weight and feel, the pleasure of a punch, nodding cherry stems with your tongue, impatience with wasted time. These slight and ageless things unearth the shard of the Irish landscape gleaming in your eye, the Dutch wind on your deck, the Italian terrace vineyard, your Calvinist correctness. These slight and ageless things are vessels of our history, laced with small cracks. Look closely. The cracks are filled with stories running deep into layers of generations. Each one speaks of old things, love that never faltered, healing hands, kind women, earthly angels, and some monsters. These slight and ageless things echo through the years, unheard and unseen, until we need to look for signs of everlasting love, of forgiveness, and the future. Until we need to hold some small thing, like flowers strewn in the December river, floating past us, sinking into
The next 2 poems that we'll read in recognition of our fathers, who were brothers, and greatly influenced our shared love of reading. Oddly, I only recently realized the curious synchronicity that Peg and I have both worked as librarians in the course of our lifetime. We'll start with genetics.
genetics. The grandfather I never met read like words or milk and honey, fish and fruit, soap, bread, and the cool, fresh water with the mineral aftertaste of moonstone on his tongue. I saw his son devour books, a stack a week as long as his arm. As we left the library, librarians shaking their heads at their first customer every Saturday morning, and his little girl dropped in the children's section like a bag of potatoes on a kitchen counter. My first best job was in a small town library. Tall ceilings, old oak tables dark with use, and dust on every shelf, like thin bath blankets that never wear out. Saturday mornings, pushing the big doors open, pushing the push button light switch that sometimes gave me a shock, alone with all those books sitting up again after their night off, waiting for hands that will soon reach for them, hoping to become friends. Moving the fine box from the locked drawer to the front desk, hoping I had enough change for the honest souls, saying sorry for returning a late book, wondering how many times I would say thank you today. How many times I'd say, if you can't pay, pay when you can. You can still check out more books.
And about my father, imprinted. A lamb in the wilderness, beset by beasts, but protected by books. There she finds her refuge, her fortress. In these castles where her other families live, problems and troubles leave them unruffled and unscarred. When she lifts her eyes to look around her room, her home, her front stoop, she sees her father immersed in a book as the melee of children swirls around him, as pot lids clang in the kitchen, as upstairs someone's heels slam hard against the floor. Always he holds a book in his hand. Daddy, home from work, well fed and relaxed, closes his eyes and dulls his ears to everything except the mesmerizing words on the page of his book. In every family, food holds a great place in our stories and our memories. Food, what fills our bellies and our souls. We start with honey on toast. Hunger gnaws. Although I've eaten well, I want something else. Something's extra. Something sweet. I reach for a thick slice of bread and slide it into the toaster. As the bread browns, the honey on top of the toaster oven warms until when I drip it onto the buttered toast, it is flowing, liquid gold, a feast for the eyes. Suddenly I picture my daughter last week, rummaging around my kitchen, seeking the honey. She needs to warm it to top the French toast she's made for our Mother's Day brunch. The golden memory seeps into this moment, like the sweet smoothness of warm honey coats the rough slab of crisp toast. Now I am replete.
Simple love. Of all the things you taught me, the cucumber sandwich in its plain Jane wrapper of white store-bought bread comes back to me every summer like a migrating bird. Crisp, thinly sliced cucumber layered on top of the mayonnaise swathed white slice of every day. Salted well, peppered a touch, topped with another swathed slice. Cut in half, not triangles like tuna. A glass of cold milk. Of all the things you taught me, I eat this and feel a soft fondness for you in the middle of my chest, a radiant warmth for a few heartbeats. Mother, it was this simple to love us. From full stomachs and simple love, we move to more complex experiences we've carried with us into adulthood. Aunt Margaret teaches me about prayer. Years ago, I asked her about prayer. She said, I pray all the time. I pray for my family mostly. If you don't know where to start, try the Lord's Prayer. It's always a good one. I have practiced. I go to church now most Sundays, a funny place, a Quaker meeting that sings. In song and in silence, we listen to God. The prayer becomes the message. My daughters and I say prayers before she sleeps. She races through the Lord's Prayer. I solemnly try to hear each word. She finishes before me and patiently waits for the power and the glory forever and ever. Amen. She faithfully adds, Alleluia. Then we pray for what the day has brought or wrought. She once thanked God for Title IX. Last night, Aunt Margaret came again. I told her how often I recall her words, my first lesson in prayer. She asked me what I had concluded, her voice as soft as her fine white hair, her light southern inflection, soothing any fear that there was a correct answer. I said, it's a mystery. I think I have prayed all my life and didn't know it. I think I can learn about this forever. So there is no real conclusion. And this is my favorite sort of thing. She nodded once and said, it is a mystery. You have been busy. Aunt Margaret, I just want to say, is Linda's mother.
Aw. Aw.
The far edge of summer. The rain has begun to fall, and this sodden morning, the sun is hidden behind clouds. I look again, remembering the cusp of summer, the gold and blue of yesterday's perfect October afternoon. Reaching to lift a translucent teacup, I almost smell again the rich aroma of ripe peaches. In the new garden, the old redwood, top lost in a windstorm, is putting forth lacy new growth, a fluttering fan of green high on the towering stump. I hear laughter and love in that afternoon as we cousins convene, seldom, so seldom, and converse with delight for hours. Forever bound within the circled arms of our mothers, we hope our daughters too will know the joy of these treasured connections. The loss of the green dark treetop has opened the yard to added light. In the replanted garden, we glory in the last ripe tomatoes, the burgeoning camellia buds, and the crimson velvet of late roses. At the far edge of summer, the orange cat, basking on stones in the garden path, slowly blinks green eyes. The light changes. The season shifts. Sorry, forgot about it. Now we move on from the garden to death. The beauty of beginnings and endings. Start by reading Flowers on the Water. Flowers on the water. We speak no words now, although we chatted idly as we ambled to the river's edge. It seemed fitting to be so casual. She hated to be the center of attention, to have a fuss made over her. But here, in her memory, we tossed red flowers to float on the pewter gray water, each of us remembering our own version of her and puzzling over all we do not know about her. At 14, Queen of the May, was she shy and white or outgoing and dramatic in a glittering tiara? Perhaps she alternated, swinging from one to the other until life pushed her toward the self-effacing. I see her now in ways I never have before, and I wonder further about her. Her father dead. She married the boy next door, struggled through the end of the Great Depression, through babies and war and leaving home far behind. I remember the odor of black tar ointment that treated the broken skin of her hands until new home and new friendships formed about her. Dead almost 20 years, my mother hasn't left me. In her memory, we scatter bright flowers and delicate marguerites on the flowing water. After our quiet ceremony, as conversation resumes, as friends and family leave, she lingers. From the simple flower of our youth, through the gentle recognitions of our old age, she and I continue talking together.
The next two poems speak in different ways. Oh, I have to read this one. Oh, I'm glad I'm going to read this one too. Sorry. This one is called Ribbons, Ribbons Everywhere. On our wedding day, I tied ribbons on our porch, my Southeast Portland version of prayer flags. I don't remember taking them down. Their tatters, wind horses galloping all over town. Once on our anniversary, I remembered this. You had been dead 4 years. I bought ribbons, thick and thin, transparent and opaque. Raspberry, indigo, lime, sunflower, lavender, carnation pink. Tied them to the tree limb outside our dining room window over the concrete statue of Kuan Yin. My friends say it is a little miracle they don't fade like cotton dish towels hung on the line summer after summer. Ice storms, heat waves, days so smoky we can't go outside. Rain, lots and lots of rain. All have come through, staining their demands on everything but those ribbons. Now I'm worried, one of those secret worries, if I let out might enable its existence, might push it into reality. But I'm telling you now, if under my care they fade, I will feel I failed, even though time does what it does. Now it could be that I get to see them waving day and night, so I can figure out how to write a poem that convinces us that death is just a thing called the end, final, if we choose the word and don't see ribbons everywhere. The next two poems, thank you, David. This is the man who designed the book. No, David Zaworski. He did a beautiful job. Thank you, David. Now he's our tech assistant. Thank you. Okay, the next two poems speak in different ways of how the world moves us. This poem is called Laud. You of the streak of blue cut through gray billows. You of the brilliant sun slant on shadowed bamboo. You of gold sun leaking below splintered cedar fence. You of the pearl drop on skeletal tree. You of rain dance on bathing birds, all flicker and flutter. You of the pink petal under moldy leaf. You of the cat beneath the drooping fern. You of the poem and the poet. You of the long way home by moon and scent. You, the light and fire, the heat in fire, the spark in us all.
I am reading a poem called To Be a Hill. This is a poem written after a poem called Supta Virasana. Virasana, yes, by Robbie Nestor. I want to lie down in silver light and become a hill rearing up toward the sky, long and high, becoming a destination, a viewpoint, and lifting you to a new height. I want to have a core of solid rock, exposed only at certain spots, as a reminder of what lies hidden within. Over that, I want to know the bright green of grass and moss, feel a soft blanket that comforts and cushions the irregularities, those many little hollows where seeds collect and incubate, taking root, hiding until they become trees, make shade, and sigh in the winds that play and swirl around me. I want to be a hill that invites hikes and exploration, a hill where you will seek recreation and a restoration. And because you come again and again to me, my contours will be smooth and softened. There will be rivulets from rain that falls on me. They will gather into freshets and pools from which you can drink, and I will be here for you forever.
We're at evening prayer.
There are poems about loss. We're learning to live with it, to find a balance between struggle and acceptance, to express tenderness, to live in love. I began with a poem called Seduction. Memory's no friend of mine today. I watch you hobble from the bedroom, each step a painful effort, moving so slowly, thinking more slowly, mostly forgetting. And is that also painful? Do you yearn for the days when you ran downfield, when you gloried in hitting obstacles without flinching? You were contracting into your true and essential self. Will I recognize you then and love you still? Today, as you admit to pain, I'm surprised and enticed, drawn closer in response. I reach out to feel the warmth of your body. I want to burrow into your skin, to share and to help. Let us move forward together, fighting for what future we have left. And let us not fall backward into the seductive comfort of yesteryear's memories.
This is a poem called Evening Prayer, and it is for my friends Carol and Pat. And it's a really hard poem to read with a background of rock and roll. But here we go. This was written as Pat had gone into hospice and was home, and I was wishing I could be there with them on these last few nights. I was in Southwest Portland, and they were over here in Milwaukie. Let me stretch across the streets and highways, the river, around the curve of the bluff, right to your door. Let my hand find yours. Let our hands be soft with wrinkles and old scars, stories felt between us, yours and mine. This night, let me be your night companion, so she, your dearest love, can sleep the deep floating dreams that taste like fresh bread and butter. When you need to sleep, let my words hush, and the night birds click softly, beaks and talons minding their own business, their songs quiet until you stir. When you wake to their first little songs, wake second to fresh wind, clean moss, whispering leaves, then pillow hands, sun cotton hands, soothing brow hands. Hers first, because she has awakened beside you for so many years, and you know she'll wait beside you in endless tomorrows, and your aloneness will be filled, and hers will be a badge. She shines, feeling the no longer sharp edges, the patina pulsing gold. We end with the beginning, the first poem in our book. This poem addresses all of the women of our lives, past, present, and future. And after this next poem, we'll each read a poem from our new collection.
This poem is the title poem of the book. Here I go again.
This poem that I'm going to read now is the title poem of the book, Moonmarked. We're moonmarked, oh my sisters, in sunless days of late winter, at the first day of a new month, in the slow ashen hours of waning nights. We're moonmarked, dear daughters, by blood, that internal clock ticking away and spilling forth each month while we busy ourselves in the kitchen, in the bedroom, in the marketplace. We are marked by the moon, my beloved mothers, as we follow its trail across the snow until spring brings on the planting season, and we nurture and birth and at last reap rich harvest. We're moonmarked, every one of us, in our smiles and in our frowns, with belly laughs or righteous anger, as we stride forth, and when we glide in the circle of the dance. And we are moon-marked when, in ghostly light, we cuddle before a fire, warm and alone, in deep consideration of our solitude.
I'm going to read one poem from my new book. This just came out a couple of weeks ago. And it is called Reclaiming the Nectar and the Hum. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. This poem is called Please, and it's written for my friend Rosie. Grandmothers, could you teach us how to be brave enough for this lifetime? We could learn to save the moments you send us in a bravery bank, like the moments of sun and light mixing up into an elixir of strength, like a tree banks light all summer, storing it bravely in her roots all winter. We bottle the elixir in amber bottles sealed with green wax, store it in an old trunk with leather straps we'd rub with sandalwood oil. The trunk we keep behind a wall that opens when we push the third brick from the left of the painting of you all sitting in a circle with the stars bright above you. We do that faithfully. We would take it on like religion if you could tell us grandmothers how much we need for this lifetime and where to find more when we're running out.
I'm inclined to think that I will pass on reading for my next book is not yet out. I pretty well got it organized, but it's not out. And I think it's time to let some of people participate in the open mic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
For being here.
Are you open to taking a couple of questions?
Oh, sure, we can take some questions.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah, in a short question and answer. Well, I know I'm interested in hearing you talk about your community writing. And I wonder if the two of you wrote community for this book at all. And if you found as you went along, did you influence one another? As you wrote the poems that are in this book.
When we say we write in community, that's because we appear on the Zoom, we sit down over Zoom and use a prompt, which we may or may not actually write to, and just write at the same time. We don't try to write the same kind of thing at the same moment. And what we found happening was that over a period of time, we would discover that we had covered some of the same themes, and using facts or reminiscences of our family. There are a lot of things in there that we recognize as details that came from our family life that probably nobody else ever will.
I write 5 mornings a week in community. I have writing partners and writing group, and we meet on Zoom, and as Linda described it, we find a poem, we read it, we write the prompt, and we write silently for 15, 20 minutes, and then we come back together and we read what we've written. There's no editing. there is no, we are not working at craft. We're working at that first draft of expression. And um, and then we listen to what people say. It's usually a reflection of the lines that moved them or that spoke to them in some way. And we do all of our crafting off Zoom privately.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any questions?
I do. I'm such a big fan of this book, as I already told you guys. I'm sorry. I am already such a huge fan of your book, as I told you in the beginning. Yeah. You're amazing.
What did you say?
Yeah. And what I think I enjoyed about it so much is I don't live by my girl cousins, and we're of different generations. But when we get together, it is like we are our mother's daughters. And it doesn't take much to be like, I know who you came from, because we all came from the same people. And it's so unique. And I really found that, especially in your poems about food, that was especially, I was like, these are like the same people. And it was just like such a pleasure to read about in that way. So I'm wondering what like what was the level of pleasure you derived from discovering these synchronicities? Oh. Over the moon.
It was really during COVID that we came together to write, and we became so close. And it was just like we've been waiting for all these years to really be in that sisterhood of cousinhood. Right?
Yeah. And it was kind of a reprise of watching our mothers develop a really warm friendship. Again, when they were not physically close during all of that time. Yeah. Well, it's evident, and I think you should take your show on the road.
Maybe not with rock and roll and a stiff wind, but we'll try it again.
Yeah, definitely.
You did good with you.
Yeah, you really did.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
We're good? Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
So do we know where the open mic sign-up list is?
Well, there's nobody on it. It's been under
Yeah.
the oranges.
It's around here. Well,
So it's just,
I know I want to say that I could have just sat there and kept listening to you read and read. So you could have just gone on. Yeah. Yeah, so thank you. As I remember, we had a list, and the list was Susanna first. Is that right? Susanna, Sharon, me, David, Jane, and anyone else who may want to read a poem. And Kristen. Okay. So, but let's try 2 poems, and that should take us around to 8 o'clock. And let's welcome our first featured reader, who is Susanna Lundgren.
And it's Susanna's birthday week.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is her birthday week.
No competition.
Like a birthday gift.
Can I put this on top of my thing? Right here.
Okay, how's that? Hear me? Okay. It's okay. There's enough weight. And the wind's blowing down. So I have two pieces. It just surfaced today because I have a lot of bags full and many years. And quite a few of you knew my artist, poet husband, Ron Ratch, who's been gone these 3 years. But I also brought a couple of pieces that, I have hundreds of notebooks to go through. And for quite a while, it's just been sort of, I can't do this. And, it just kind of sits. But I never give up. So I have two pieces here. I got to yell again. And the first one, I like to write oftentimes in the voice of, say, mythical beings or stories. And so this first piece is from one of the legends of the native people in the Northwest about Raven. And it's my invention in a way, but it has many accurate details about one of the Raven myths that, and I imagine her, she has to do with being the bringer of spring or sort of birth figure. And one image that really caught my attention is that she comes out of a cedar box, of course, the beautiful carving of the tribes. And so the idea of a box, something that opens, there's something magical about that. So the picture here is that in a deep hole or cavern, Raven is not born yet, but is within one of these cedar boxes. So that will give you a picture of what we're saying. So the title is New Raven, and my epigraph is An Imagined Myth of the Pacific Northwest. In the long ago year, an early morning light presses back ever so slightly against the blue-gray dark. A moat-sprinkled ray finger taps an egg long hidden in the deep cavern nest. A peck, a poke, a crackle. The beak of Raven leads her through into dark, warm air. Soon, damp, black feathers drying, her wings spread and float and lift her slowly to the snowy forest above. Now her task begins as the cedar box, perched on its basalt mound, awaits her intelligent and curious prodding, that the lid may leap open, setting free pinwheels of light and flowers. New Raven. Now I have a piece I haven't looked at for years. As I said, I just dug out a bag looking for some stuff, and I remember writing this. But this was a vision that I had. Ron had been gone maybe a year. It's been 3 years now. But I didn't date it, and I always date things, so why is that? But it's within a certain period of time, and it's a vision that I had that seemed to be a gift that came to me because I had a hard time remembering things I wanted to remember, like the sound of his voice, or just sort of, I love what you had in your poems, the person just being there still, even though the body is gone, but it's as if that person were there. So after I had this vision, I was a lot better off. And it's kind of like a prose poem that hasn't been entirely worked with yet, just kind of came off the pen the morning after I had this vision. This morning, falling back to sleep, I dreamt of him, finally, sitting on the couch in the very middle, framed by the side garden in full spring flower. He wore the blue sailcloth shirt and tan pants, attractive and casual, that he favored in the 80s. So long ago, recently it seemed. I peeked around the corner, afraid to speak, but then he looked up from his writing and smiled in that friendly, unsurprised sort of way. I said, "Hi, how have you been?" "Very well," he replied. I actually heard his voice that I knew so well. The quiet honey, knowing and reflective, soft and resonant calm, with a touch of amusement. He went back to his writing. I darted back into the kitchen, dared to peek once or twice. He was still there, writing, in contemplation. Time passed before I looked again. He was standing in the room, wearing his navy wool jacket that had been still in the closet, I believe, ready to go out for the day. He said, "Are you going out?" Yes, was all I could manage. He smiled again, approvingly, indulgently. "Well, have a good day. I'll see you later." I haven't looked at this for years. So I love this group. I got to share it with all of you. Have said something about, there's some life and death, and sometimes you think it's a little dire, but no, this was the right thing. And, midsummer, what's better for all of those kinds of things. So I have two others by him if there's time at the end. Thank you. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Hello, this poem is called Sacramental Wine. He raised his robed arms in mystery, held the wafer high and broke it, my body for you. Blessed the red wine, the color of blood given for me. The little flames of light danced on the walls as he moved along the rail, silver trays, small glasses, as people knelt before him. Before the holy light reflected by silver and glass, dappled in stained glass color. The wine smelled to me, a child, like the sacrament. I waited in the sacristy afterwards while my father disrobed and women washed the little cups, stacked them back in the trays, placed in the closet lined with cedar, chalice on the shelf, wine cap stored, surplus hung on the hook next to the cabinet. We pulled up to the mini mall liquor store. I got a cherry sucker on twisted paper handle. My father bought 2 bottles of Bogan David Concord grape, kosher for Passover. I was confused that the local liquor store sold common communion wine, which was kosher. Years later, I joined a bottle party down by the tracks, where the guys lived in a hobo jungle. Me learning the secrets of the homeless, the derelict circle where they passed the Bogan David, Mad Dog 2020, cheap fortified wine, and a baguette from a dumpster dive. The sacrament of communion complete, shared the body and blood, aromas smelling like unwashed flesh. Its liquids, bottle baby Joe, Granny, Big Bobby Moore cobbled together enough quarters, collected the offering, the curses, the blessing. The mini mall liquor store is still there. My father, bottle baby Joe, Granny, Big Bobby Moore are someplace else, sharing the sacrament, the rites of the living and almost living, floating free with the Holy Spirit without body or blood, the universal derelict circle, moving through the holy light.
So I'm working on a collection that I call St. Francis poems. And we're Catholic. I was raised Catholic. And these poems are about going to school when I was a kid. And it's also about some things that, more recent. And the one I want to share tonight is about St. Vincent de Paul. And most of you probably know that St. Vincent de Paul is the Catholic organization that takes food to the hungry. And learning St. Vincent de Paul, I learned St. Vincent de Paul from my dad. I didn't know what I was doing at first, just following the St. Vincent de Paul prayer. I had a lot of questions. Why were we giving more food to some people and less to others? Why were some people poor? I didn't get a straight answer from him on those. I ended up thinking he didn't know. Or if he knew, he didn't want to tell me. I don't know why either. I had different theories about this throughout my life. Not being able to solve it when the solution seemed obvious, but just out of reach, like the ring at the merry-go-round. Like the ring at the merry-go-round that you just can't reach as your horse sails by. But the situation didn't get any better. It actually got worse, with some people poor and hungry. Not only that, people didn't seem to care. That doesn't mean we should stop doing St. Vincent de Paul, because we can't solve all the problems. Maybe that's why my dad didn't answer me. It was too big for him to say out loud. What he knew was that there were people in front of us who needed help, and we could provide it, no matter why they were poor, what they had done, or what theory they could explain it. Learning St. Vincent de Paul. So, I'll just say that that's one of those poems that I'm just looking at how much is enough, or just really, how much more do I want to say about that? So, the second poem I'm going to read, for some reason, is from my book, Giving Thanks. And it's a hiking poem. And I think that's because it's summer. And I'm thinking about hiking, and I'm thinking about the Pacific Crest Trail. And I was thinking about the Grand Canyon. This poem I call The Three Essentials. One night in camp on the Pacific Crest Trail, just over the border into Northern California, I heard the soft whisper, pump, pack, pray. These are the three essentials. You must guard your filter, pump your water, carry it with you. Otherwise, you can't go more than a day. You must pack your equipment for the time in the wilderness. Otherwise, you'll be very cold when it's dark and you've forgotten your tent. Most important of all is to pray. It's third in this poem, a point of honor. The Spirit called me to put it there. Otherwise, I would have been hiking a 3,000-foot rocky decline, alone, with evil perched over my right shoulder and a drop-off to the left. I heard the whisper again. Pump, pack, pray. So I wrote it down. Thank you very much.
My name is David. Let's start with this poem. A call to poets. In perilous times, write the song sparrow's song, flowing trills and clear notes, and the hummingbird's sharp, dry, strees. Write the child's delight in puddles splashed in their red rubber boots. In perilous times, write I love you. Speak it aloud to family and friends. Think it of strangers. I love you. In portentous times, write the eagle crossing over the river just upstream from the protest. Write the songs that carry our courage back to us. In portentous times, write the true words that confound the liars and false prophets, the words that build a solid place to stand. In unprecedented times, write community holding each other above the rising tide. Write solidarity lifting up the lives of the most vulnerable. In unprecedented times, Write the eternal precedents of peace and justice, of wisdom and mercy, of honesty, compassion, welcome. In these times, write for the world. And this one is called, Maybe We All Need This. The cat speaks loudly, his desire for attention, mostly easy to satisfy if you put your own life on hold. Attend to his demands for a scritch by the ears, a lap to settle on. Only the ever-moving tip of his tail speaking then, a constant not enough. One of these days, he may kill us both, flopping down under my foot as I descend the steps. He is not even my cat. But all creatures are deserving some attention, good attention, even the loud and demanding, mostly human ones.
Well, I didn't know I was going to do a poem, so I'll recite one of my favorite poems, Emily Dickinson. I'm nobody. Who are you? Are you nobody too? Then there's a pair of us. Don't tell. They'll banish us, you know. How dreary to be somebody. How public like a frog to tell your name to an admiring bog.
So this is really Todd. I never invite him. We've been together for 14 years. I was like, this is my thing, Todd. But he's like, did you read tonight? Did you read? And I was like, yeah, I read. But now he's here, so he's seeing me read. But I'm also excited about that. So even if our food's ready, you can't go yet. Okay. Wrinkles. I've been joyously absent, resting in the wrinkles around my eyes. Minutes like tiny hands carve me into a keepsake. I keep thinking about the time my dad picked me up from the train station a few days before Christmas. I hopped up into his ruby red truck and stuck my pointer finger into his neck, just below the chin. You're starting to look like Grandpa, I said. The creases in his face, like strings, pull back to reveal his delight. And then his brows shrug and furrow in horror, a realization metabolizing. I am him, his monster parent. And this one is also for my dad. Father's Day. Thoughts of my dad breach the veil and expel the exhaustion I feel in keeping him alive. Waves swell and curl and break across my back. I stand tall, reliving fears in striking distance, from which I turn away but never outrun. I trace the outline of his memory. Translucent conversations appear glittering in freshly soaked sand. How marvelous you are. How covertly wild you'd always been. We're bound, you and I. You're the salt in my tears. My grief is not your cross to bear.
Yeah, thank you, Kristen. So I would like to ask our featured reader if there is a poem that you have that you might like to end us on tonight. And we can let us show our gratitude again to you for the reading that you've done tonight. Or it could be two poems. Or one poem and you could share that one. Mhm. Huh?
I brought a short one and a longer one. Ron's poems.
You want to read the short one?
They're looking.
Yeah.
So why didn't I do that one?
Yeah. Okay, why don't you do that one? Because this way we can end on their poem.
That's right. That's why I'm bringing
Yeah.
it up.
Okay. We have one more poem from Susanna.
So I have a short piece here, characteristic of Ron's writing, say 20 years ago. And he was a fine artist and often brought in lots of color words and, those, remember it was Paul Ann or someone saying, if you get all five senses into the poem, you've got a good poem. And so he was also famous, particularly at that time, this is 2004, for putting the specific color blue or word blue. So he did have one self-made small chapbook called Blue in that time. So this is called Garden Glimpse. The nomadic hummingbird waits, discreet in his obsessions, blue forsythias. Beam of luck, emerald and red, drifts hovers in ways prudent, protracted over the riotous choir of summer's nectar-redolent winds. Blue. Poolside bloom opens just in time. He discreetly bows, ascends out of sight. Garden glimpse.
Really characteristic of his style.
And Linda and Peg. Okay, great.
Linda's daughter, my second cousin, requested this poem. It's called First Tomato, and it's from our Moon Mark book. The first tomato. The first tomato ripened over the weekend. I was too busy to notice. That is, I think, close to a sin to not raise it up. Let it gleam in the sun. An orangey yellow ember. Hold it so the light bounces off of it, like an offering to the gods. But really, it's an offering from the gods. I will pick this when the first guest arrives today, so I can share the small globe. I won't take that glow inside me. I'll give it away, which is the first lesson of all. See the light. Share the light. Be the light. If you can bear with me, I'm going to read another one from my new book. It's just an opportunity I can't pass up. Is that okay? Yeah. Okay. This is a poem that I wrote the day that, I don't know if you remember this, a few years ago, they showed pictures of black holes. They had discovered black holes and they had photographed them. And it was such a stunning moment to me. And I wrote this poem, which is also about my daughter and about being a mother. And the title is, What Made Me Think I Have the Courage for This? This is the question that comes to each of us at the first slippery, squalling, milk spurting moment. We learn to shut that question away, lock it down tight, because the next sentence could be, I don't. You lock it away because the better tide rolls in as you realize this little foot is the size of your thumb and too soft for pebbles, thorns, or, heaven forbid, glass. Anything it takes to save that precious soul, you'll swear to until you can't resist her desire to run. But what this is really about is black holes. The very first picture of a black hole was revealed today. A collaboration of 200 scientists believing that nature wants to be beautiful. They even said that at the press conference. They trained all their mighty telescopes on one place in the universe known as M87 and showed us, tiny dustlings of the universe, a picture of what they thought was unseeable, containing the mass of 6.5 billion suns from 50 million light years away. So I ask, what makes me think I have the courage for this? And I go back to that little foot of my 5-pound daughter, delivered into my care, and I think, how can I not? Thanks.
I have to make a choice here. I think Megan said she liked the food poem, somebody. And Peg and I had originally cut out about the one that she just read about, not the black holes, but the one she read before that. And Late Raspberries is the one that I had to match that one. But I just love the way hers ended with being the light. So I'm inclined to move on to something a little different from my next book, which is entitled White Lilacs. White lilacs cascade over hands clasping the bouquet. A gold ring engraved with vows gleams through flowers beginning to brown. The scent of lilacs envelops her, evoking memory of a blush pink wedding gown. Her eyes close, her head bows in the incense-infused grace of lilacs. As she dreams again of the white blooms she asked for as her wedding bouquet. The heart-shaped leaves and the heady scent of petals dropping like snow. Lilacs ripe or lilacs struggling to grow. They measure the rhythms of a life. This spring, as they are coming into bloom, she drapes white lilacs on his gravestone.
Well, thank you very much, Linda and Peg. Thank you, everybody, for being here. We want to show our gratitude to Linda and Peg and really to all of us. So I think we should give ourselves a little pat on the back for persisting over the music. We did it. Yeah. Thanks for being here, everybody. Good night.